Hello, and welcome to the latest edition of the Total War Let's Play series. We're coming at you with episode 3 of our Yellow Turban Let's Play. Today I just wanted to talk to you about some of the things that I've learned about Taoism and the end of the Han era. I was lucky enough to get my hands on The Scripture on Great Peace by Barbara Hendrischke, and it was a very enlightening read. A lot of the symbology of the Yellow Turban Rebellion is based in an understanding that the Yellow Turban Rebellion was definitely not the first, and or would it be the last, popular uprising during the Han era. We have several different peasant groups rebelling in various ways during this time period. The Yellow Turbans is only the most recent and the largest and the most threatening. And it occurs in 184, but that doesn't mean that all of its ideas originate in 184. And one of the main ones is, in answer to the title, why is it yellow? Why are all of our people dressed in this yellow fabric? And peasants at this point had enough practice rebelling against their local governments that they understood the presence of cultural symbology in their political activity, and yellow is the color that follows red, and red represents fire, and fire was the symbol that the Han adopted. Let's see if we could find some Han people here really quick. Yeah, so the Han Empire. So we can see that the Han Empire has these red kind of flame-like decorations on their flags and their iconography. They're often dressed in red, and they prefer to see themselves as the cycle of fire. And this comes back to part of Taoism that's called the Wuxing, which is the 5 phases, basically. They're representative of the 5 major planets, or the moving stars, as Chinese astronomers would know them. And they basically describe many of the ideas and interrelationships between various phenomena, including political phenomena. The cycle, in case you're curious, and we can have links to it in the description, are wood, fire, earth, which is yellow, metal, which is white, and water, which is black. Now, water is another option to take over fire, to overcome fire, and that would be kind of known as the Black Emperor, and some rebel movements did call themselves the Black King or the Black Emperor. The Yellow Turban Rebellion also has the benefit of evoking the idea of the Yellow Emperor, and the Yellow Emperor is largely seen to be the originator of Chinese culture and the Chinese people, a common ancestor of all Chinese people. It's a mythical, I think the third last mythical emperor that's known at like 2700 BC estimation. Many things are attributed to this figure, including an early form of football, oddly enough, evoking that cultural symbol of the true Chinese culture, the true Chinese civilization being yellow, helped them gain a lot of their presence and their ability to manipulate the peasants to overthrow what is fairly directly a corrupt system at this point. We could go into one of the reasons that the system was corrupt, and it largely had to do with concentration of agricultural lands, driving many peasants off of their land and thus off of their system of livelihood, their ability to access food and money. This, of course, had the uncomfortable consequence of creating large amounts of peasant hobos roaming the countryside with no job and no location for them to be in, and they were easily persuaded to rebel because functionally they were going to die anyway. So it really They had nothing to lose at that point. Many of the ideas of the Yellow Turban Rebellion didn't originate in the Yellow Turban Rebellion. It originated much earlier. There was the Perfected. All of these rebel movements were attempting to use supernatural iconography to legitimize their political activity. Back to the land reform piece. Many people during this time period, because of the way that inheritance subdivisions of land were created, were put on increasingly smaller plots of land that then couldn't sustain themselves, and they were eventually plantations that then kicked them out of their home, and they were unable to have a living or a livelihood. So they said, well, I don't have any food or money or jobs here. I might as well travel to find more food and money and jobs in other locations. Unfortunately, it was like that in every location, kind of reminiscent of the Great Depression. And so you had large groups of males, but also women and children and families roaming the countryside looking for work. And that is always a politically destabilizing idea, especially when the owners of those large agricultural centers, or plantations for lack of a better word, it's not entirely accurate, but we'll just use it, employed large militias to defend their estates from roaming bands of angry, hungry peasants. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to hopefully salvage our group of very virtuous, angry, hungry peasants and get into taking over the political system, starting with, I think, Liu Bei and Kong Rong will be our targets for today. Kong Rong would be an excellent example of kind of business for business sake, and, you know, exactly the target that the Yellow Turban Rebellion would be consciously attacking. So, yeah. If you guys have any questions, feel free to, write them as comments or descriptors in the chat. There's a lot to get through in this time period. 190, like, end of Han empireship is incredibly dense and rich in cultural symbology and cultural learning that is not directly apparent to Western audiences. But, I'm learning a lot. I hope I can help you guys learn at least a little through me, hopefully a lot. But that's my goal with this whole project, is to bring a wider net to the time and energy that we all are limited in to both play this game and appreciate the cultural context inside of it.